Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. We appreciate you joining us again for another CIQ webcast. This week, we're going to spend some time really focusing on the Rocky and the Rocky community. So I'd like to bring in who we have on from the Rocky community. There we go. How are you guys?
Doing well. Yourself?
How's it going? I'm sure we'll have some more trickled in, but to get started, I think I want to have you guys introduce yourselves. Tell us kind of who you are, how you're involved with the community, and how you got involved in the community. Kind of that why. Why did you start doing this? And I'm going to start off. I'm going to go left to right. So Neil, you start off.
Left to right? I thought I was on the right. I guess it depends.
You're on my right. Sorry, I'm backwards today.
I think you just want to pick on me, Zane.
I of course want to pick on you, Neil.
My name is Neil Hanlon. I am. I wear a few hats. One of those hats is one of the team leads for infrastructure at the Rocky Linux project inside of the Rocky Enterprise Software Foundation. The other hat I wear is as a solutions architect or something along those lines at CIQ, who's a sponsor and partner of the Rocky Enterprise Software Foundation as well. But yeah, so I wear those two hats, and I got involved in Rocky right at the beginning. I think kind of around the same time most of the team leads here did, or the folks that might be trickling in who make up the team leads got. And I joined here from Greg's comment on a blog post. I was going into the December season and figured I needed a little bit of something to do and joined the Slack at the time and found myself somehow being responsible for figuring out how to build infrastructure to support a massive community of folks that were at the beginning honestly angry, and that was a vibe that we had to quiet down because there was a lot of anger and a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of people's parts. And so we got through that, and I got involved, like I said, honestly, because I was a user of CentOS in my job and in my personal time, my prior place of employment, and understood the benefits for the enterprise Linux community that a free operating system like CentOS Linux used to be, and CentOS Stream as it exists now, but specifically CentOS where it sits or sat after Red Hat. The benefits of those are very large and numerous for enterprises that run on Red Hat Linux or various EL operating systems. So that's how I got involved, and kind of why I got involved was to fill a need that I saw in the community, and for, again, as I said, like where I was working at the time.
That's great. Thank you, Neil. Stack, I'll let you go next.
I'm Stack. I've been in the HPC space now for 20 years. And so I've been working with Scientific Linux before. And so when the announcement came out, and I'd already been kind of looking at moving because Scientific Linux said they weren't going to do anything past 7. So we'd already been kind of looking at moving to CentOS 8 when the announcement came out. Through the HPC space, I know Greg and have worked with Greg for a number of years. So when he made the announcement, I was like, let me know how I can help. There was a need at the time for somebody to help with testing. So I stepped up in that role, and now I'm the testing lead. Previously, I worked with Trevor in that role, but he's recently kind of stepped down. Life gets in that way. But we've got quite the amazing team in testing who do, I think, the bulk amount of the work. I just kind of help run the meetings and wrangle them to focus on tickets. So
that's great. Thank you very much. Steve, I'm going to stop. Let's drop over to the bottom right. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I actually got involved back in December 2020, basically, just as I was preparing to retire.
Steve, you got to turn your mic up, man.
Really quiet, yeah, Steve.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mic is on. It's not working.
No, it's on. We can hear
working.
You. Just turn up that volume.
Oh,
turn up that volume. Yeah.
You want to come back to me?
That'll work. We'll just skip to Skip.
Oh no, I was volunteering.
Ready to go. Yeah, no, you're good.
No, I'm very much like Neil, except more on the kind of development side of things. I been a working Linux admin architect kind of person, long time. Worked with CentOS and Red Hat Linux for a long time. In and out, mostly in the server space, and was real, shocked and surprised to hear this big CentOS announcement. Checked it out, read the tech news, checked out the blog post, saw the comment, and was like, oh, let me curiously clicked on here, and I just remember hopping into the initial. I think Greg had co-opted the high performance computing Slack channel, and I hopped in there. It was like I had never really, I'd used Slack a couple of times before, and there was like 5,000 people in this, and they were all like, let's go do something, let's do something. So we had to quickly organize ourselves, and it kind of snowballed from there, quite frankly. So really, my role in the Rocky development group is not really on the infrastructure side. It's more on package builds, troubleshooting. I also, do some of the Raspberry Pi portage stuff and all kinds of ins and outs, a little bit of programming work, but just I'm all over the place. So developer at large.
Ins and outs, a little bit. Yeah. Great, thank you. Steve, you want to try again?
How's that? Is that better?
A little bit.
A little bit.
It's better. A little quiet, but it's better.
I can always crank it up some more.
Try a little more if you don't mind.
How about now?
There we go.
Okay. All right. I got started probably December 2020. As I was preparing to retire from my day job I've been at for 21 years, I was a network administrator for a small home-owned, basically, plumbing and electrical supply company that had an internet service and web hosting, and we provided actually Linux terminal service to our remotes, which was how I really got embedded in the Linux world. But all of our servers were Linux based, and we used CentOS or CentOS for all of that. So I was very familiar with that. And so when I got involved, I wasn't really sure how I wanted to be involved. And I got started with the documentation team and wrote a fair amount of documentation. And still am very active there, basically with the translation group as well. And so that's how I got involved. I retired.
It's fantastic. Congratulations. Hopefully someday we can all get there. Thank you, Stephen. So Sharif, I'll move to you next.
Hello. So my name is Sharif. I've been a Linux administrator for maybe 17, 18 years now, mainly working with Red Hat-based operating systems and Debian. And one day I saw the Greg's comment on the CentOS blog post for the Rocky, and as most of the people here, I just jumped into the Slack. I seen, okay, how can I help? I've been always involved in open source communities here and even back home. And first I started with the release engineering team. We were trying to configure and build MBS and Koji and the older build infrastructure, which was awful process, but yeah, we got it done. We got Red Hat Rocky 8 out of the way. And then I got dragged into the wonderful world of secure boot. And mainly this is what I've been doing lately. So secure boot, I'm working a little bit on the side for the generic ARM64 imaging, and now the ARM HFP Rocky bootstrapping with another colleague of ours, Pablo, from the release engineering as well.
That's great. Thank you, Sharif.
Thank you.
Wally, you're next.
My name is Wale Shoyinka. I don't have a cool backstory like all of these folks here. But if Greg's throwing a party, I'm there. That's it. That's all I need to know. Greg's doing something. I'm there. Sign me up. Yes. So my name is Wally again. I work with all of these fine folks here. That's my twin in the corner there. You probably wouldn't see it. That's Steven. That's my twin. That's my identical twin. So
Awesome.
that's it.
Thank you. Right now, there's a few more people that are waiting in the wings here, but I guess I'll go to Greg next.
I'm not
How'd
sure.
you get involved? Who are you?
I don't know anymore. So in terms of how I got involved, I saw this blog post that CentOS was going EOL, and they were moving it towards CentOS Stream, which is a fantastic project. We're really excited about it, but it's not exactly what we needed as an organization. I know our customers didn't really want that, and I was looking at a lot of the other comments on that blog post where it seemed like nobody was really happy about it. And so, I mean, I got to say, I've always thought about, kind of redoing and recreating another operating system. So felt like this was just the perfect opportunity. And so I made just a little comment saying, yeah, I'm interested in making another CentOS. If anyone is interested, come over to this Slack over here and join. And next thing I know, I had 10,000 new closest friends. And within like 2 months, I think I spent many more months than that just trying to answer messages as they were coming in of people who wanted to help and wanted to be part of it. And it was an amazing, like, I've been doing open source for a long time. Like, I don't know, I'm old, right? So I've been doing open source for a long time, since like the mid 90s. And I've seen so many kind of underground uprising movements in open source where there was whole communities just coming out of the woodwork and just, disrupting everything and just doing amazing things. Honestly, I got to say, I didn't know that was still capable. And I felt kind of, I always kind of wish that a lot of, other people that are kind of new to open source had the opportunity to kind of see what that was like, because it was so amazing to be part of such things. And then Rocky happened. And I never thought in a million years that we'd see an open source uprising like we did again with Rocky. And all of a sudden, I mean, literally within like a month and a half, 2 months, I mean, there was 10,000 people in the community all wanting to be part of this and all wanting to help and jump in. So that's how I got involved. And ever since, it's been absolutely incredible is the way I would describe it. And I hope everyone that has been part of what we've created feels the same, because I look back at my memories of other open source projects earlier on, and it's so powerful to just kind of know that, I was there. I saw that sort of thing develop. I saw it happen. I may have even been able to take part in some of that. And I hope that everybody that's associated with Rocky today and everybody who comes and joins us in the future gets that same opportunity and can kind of perpetuate that moving forward. Anyway, I'm getting emotional. So hopefully that's
it's fantastic. You kind of alluded to one thing that I wanted to ask, though, is you started off around 10,000 people that were interested. How big is the community today? Or can we even measure that anymore?
I don't know. I've got my perspective, but I want you guys come in over me because this started off with everybody here knows me real well. I talk a lot, so you guys just need to shut up if you need. But this started off, as I said, with so many people. It's impossible to manage 10,000 people within like a month with no organizational structure. It's just impossible. Can't be done. If somebody else knows how to do it, teach me. What we did was we basically decided to create a whole bunch of different channels in our Slack. And we divided up the channels by kind of topics and groups and interests and whatnot. And we made a whole bunch of them. Some of them nobody was interested in. Other ones we had, a lot of discussions. And as I'm trying to like jump through like all of these different things and different topics and whatnot, we're seeing all of this happen. And it's like immediately like people and teams started to form and people started to start making progress and start moving forward. And I'm watching all of this and I'm like, okay, as soon as I finish with these 300 responses to messages that I need to get to, I'm looking forward to jumping in. Finally, I get through like all of this after like a month or two of trying to respond to everybody. Finally, I get onto that. And I'm looking at the development team and they're describing to me how it works. And all of a sudden I realized how legacy all of my knowledge is and how irrelevant so much of that knowledge has become over, the last 18 to 20 years. And so this team was just doing such a phenomenal job. The best thing that I can do is really just help them with everything else and stay out of their way. And that's what I did. So it's been a fantastic journey. Your question. Yes. How many people? So kind of hard to say because each one of the teams kind of have a number of, there's team members, there's team leaders, there's deputies, and then there's a bunch of contributors into each one of these teams. So at a high level view, I'd say we probably it's in the hundreds in terms of people that are actively contributing and being part of what we're doing, but not all of those people are committing code is what I would describe. So it's a much smaller number in terms of who is committing code, but we're actually starting several initiatives where we're trying to grow this and expand who actually has access and come up with mechanisms for additional people to get access and to join what it is that we're doing. But the one thing that's incredibly important to everything that we're doing is that this is in fact the community doing this. And it is not, it's not CIQ. It's not another single company. It's a lot of individuals. It's a lot of different companies represented. And we're making sure that we have checks and balances in place such that that always is going to be the case. And we do not, as a matter of fact, we're redrafting up some of our charters and whatnot right now, where we literally cannot have a single company kind of represent what it is that we're doing. So, anyway, long story short, I'll be quiet now.
Zane, did Greg actually answer that question?
Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. I'll have to go back and replay it later.
So in Mattermost, we're I think total with all the channels, we're over 8,000, but we do have all the channels in other forums. I don't have those numbers, but in Mattermost that I can see easily. But over 8,000 in Mattermost.
Oh, Zane, is that what you were asking?
Yeah, just easy numbers.
A quick anecdote was we recently found out about a default limit in Mattermost, which is the chat platform we use, and that's that there's a pre-configured setting in the database for the maximum number of users that can be on a team. And so got a report on the forum one morning that they couldn't register and join the chat because we had reached the maximum number of users. And it's confusing because we have a 10,000 user license, and I looked and there were only about 7,500 users registered. And then I go through and find the setting in the database and some documentation on it. And we just cranked that up to 11 and called it a day. But so that kind of shows at least some of the growing pains that we've seen and had to deal with.
So even though in Mattermost you have a 10,000 lives or 10,000 seats, you still have to go compare the database separately. It's good to know.
I think it's like a spam
might come in handy for someone else.
Probably. I don't know.
I like to think we put it to the limit.
There you go. Load testing. So what makes the RESF different from other projects other than size? How is this different than the way other open source projects are run, or what makes them different? This one different.
I'm being quiet, you guys. You guys got to answer this in your own.
Can we just mute him preemptively?
Of course.
I'll mute me. Don't worry. I got it. I'll do it. Don't worry. I'll be quiet.
I want to make someone else speak too, because I feel like I've talked too much.
Zane, you should just pick people.
I'm going to. I'm just going to go back to Wally. What makes it different?
Oh, well, a big part of what we are and what we pride ourselves on is the community. the community. That's a big part of what we do. It's a big driver for us getting up every day and doing the work, and the interactions, the respect the mutual respect that people give to each other in the community, helping people, answering questions. That's a big part, and that's a big part for me too.
That's awesome. Thank you. Steven, you are out of retirement for this. So what made it different enough for you to be interested to stick around?
Oh, absolutely.
Be a part of this.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, I needed something to keep my tech mind happy, and that is something that I'm doing every day. I've gotten, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I've gotten heavily involved with the localization team, which would be translations. And honestly, they've they've provided me with enough new challenges that I've never dealt with before that I'm stretching myself every day. So yeah, I think it's a great project, and I'm pretty passionate about documentation, as Wally will tell you. And so being involved in that aspect of it has helped me continue that as I move forward. So
I'll jump in and I'll say that
Yeah,
I fully agree. The community is fantastic. There's a lot of interesting technical challenges that I wouldn't have worked on before. Sorry. The other thing is I really appreciate that as a community, we're really pushing for everything we do to be public and out in the open. With the exception of, like passwords and stuff, we're publishing all of our code. We're publishing, we're helping other people set up, test rigs and configure stuff using code that we've written so that they can, spin their own version. We're really also engaged in trying to give back to some of the open source projects that we pulled from and contributing code upstream to various groups. I really appreciate that aspect. And I know that we're still working on the board foundation for the RESF, but I really do like the way that that's coming together. And I think that when we do make that announcement and we dump it all out, I think that'll set us apart, us even further for being, an umbrella for being able to host other open source projects more so than just Rocky. But I really like the direction the community's going. I really like the direction the project's going, and I like the fact that it is also very community focused.
It's great. Thank you. Sharif, what makes it different to you?
It's the community, to be honest. The community is great. They are very supportive. The amount of knowledge that I'm still learning and absorbing at this age now is still quite a lot. And yeah, it's very enjoyable experience in general. And on the other hand, I see it as something really helpful for other Linux users, that you have more choice. You are not just having CentOS or whatever other distro. No, there is one more that open source, free, available. There is big community support behind it. So if you want to move to Rocky, you can move to Rocky if you want to. And yeah, basically the people for me.
Great.
Yeah, I want to add something to what Sheriff just said. Build on that. So there's a thing in Mattermost where you can bookmark a comment, like somebody say something, you can bookmark it, or you bookmark a thread. So every time I see something, so I'm building on the learning thing that Sheriff mentioned. So every time I see something in Mattermost, and especially in the general channel, I didn't know that, and I bookmark it, and now my thing in Mattermost, where they call it saved post, is just long now.
Is there a limit on the? we might find it.
So now I need a new system to bookmark that stuff, because I'm just constantly seeing like things that I didn't know, I had no idea about, and I keep from and this is from different folks, like, oh, this is how you do this, oh, this is how I do this. So that alone is priceless for me.
fantastic. Thank you. Skip, what makes it different for you?
I'm just going to say two technical related things, and they're kind of related to each other. The first is, as Wally was saying, in the chat platform in Mattermost, and as well on our forums and mailing lists, and Reddit threads and all this other stuff. From what I've seen, the amount of brain power that can be wielded on these platforms is incredible to me. I would, I've said this before, but I would put it up against any commercial support in the world. It may not work on, exactly, your time. If, you might have to be, patient for a couple hours or something, but oh my gosh, there's just so, I want to say it's got to be a million man years of experience on all kinds of different things. We have, from embedded all the way up to supercomputers, somebody's done something related to what you're asking about, and they know all about it. And the other thing I was going to say is related to expertise and especially technical expertise. And it was early on in the project, and I think I was I work as a Linux admin, working Linux admin, and I was my boss was talking to some people and introducing me. It's like, oh yeah, here's Skip. He's our absolute expert. He knows everything there is to know about this Linux stuff and all the hosting. And I was about 5 months into the Rocky project, working with the dev team at this point, and I'm quite frankly kind of the junior member. And I was looking at him, I was like, oh honey, oh you don't know, you have no idea. I'm just. Skip knows nothing compared to these guys. So those were two. That was just it's really incredible to me, the amount of on short notice, even like this whole thing was thrown together, and like we had a project up and running, within T minus like 48 hours of hey, let's go do something, and everybody's like, okay, let's go. And so it was just shocking to me how quickly that all came together, and how much brain power is harnessed for good, basically. And took us like a week for kickoff, and then we were off and running. So
it's fantastic. Thanks, Skip. All right, Greg, you
call your boss.
No, you don't let him go. I get to go.
No,
I'm just on the oh honey thing. I mean,
no, that was my thought. I was literally my thought when I didn't say anything to him, but I was just like, oh man, you have no idea. like you think. Okay. It was fun. I was like, seriously, that was my thing. It's like, oh Jesus,
that's awesome.
I really do want to echo what Skip said about like the hive mind, as we sometimes call it. That's available in not just the Rocky community, but there's a channel on libera.chat, the EL community, and there's also an EL beginners channel that we're trying to start for folks that are new to enterprise Linux, and putting that out as a distribution agnostic community that is even more of a hive mind, with people that have been with the CentOS project and SUSE projects and various other distribution projects for years and years and years, that know a lot of things and want to share that knowledge with other people. So there's a small subset of that in the Rocky community that I absolutely love, and that's one of the things that absolutely makes it different. And as many of the others said, I think Chris in particular, there's just never a shortage of new challenges, whether they're professional or technical. And that's something, I've never worked in open source like this before, outside of maybe some pull requests in some various repositories and having a GitHub account. And so all of those things that keep me learning and keep me interested in doing more and finding out how to do things better. And Wally, like, I also have bookmarks of things that I want to go and do and learn and document and figure out at some point in the future. So it's a never-ending fire hose of not just information, but new experiences and challenges and ways to go about things and figure things out. That's the really big things for me.
Thank you, Neil. Greg, you've been a part of a lot of different projects. You've been doing this for a long time. What makes this one different?
I would honestly just say the same thing, or repeat what everybody else has said. The community and the people involved. This team is remarkable. As I mentioned, I had full intentions of, and I actually figured I was going to be building packages. I was going to be building infrastructure and whatnot. I got to say, compared, to Skip's point, oh, honey, you have no idea how happy I am that this team is so much further ahead of me than I am, because what we were able to do is so absolutely remarkable. I mean, not to sound cliche, but we've made history in a matter of speaking. I mean, this is such a big deal, and again, this team came together. It was an absolute meritocracy, and everybody who is here with us on these teams absolutely deserves the credit for everything that's been done. It is so far beyond anything that I could have done. That I'm just, I'm in awe of this community and this group. Not to mention, we're all totally cool. And if anybody ever wants to join this party, come and join. Chat.linux.org.
It's fantastic. Thanks, Greg. So I know that managing a project like this in the community at the size of it is not easy. I know there's going to be technical challenges, and I would like you guys to discuss what are the challenges of doing something like this. And one of the things that I think of first, outside of just the technical challenges, and I know Neil and you and I have talked about this before, but I've got to ask Stephen, from a documentation perspective, and Wally, how in the world do you keep up with documentation on a project like this with that many people, this many moving parts? It's got to be hard.
It's a good question. Honestly, it's we have a fair number of people in the Mattermost channel for documentation, and if you want the truth of the matter, there are very few that are actually contributing docs. And I think we've talked about this from the other teams, that when you comes right down to it, our biggest challenge is actually getting people other than me and a handful of other people to actually write documentation. And there are so many things that I'm not familiar with that other people would have the knowledge for, and writing those documents would be something that would be right up their alley. But I can write what I know, but we need people that will write the other things, the things that I don't know, or the things that Wally doesn't know. And I think that's the biggest challenge for documentation, at least, is participation. And I think a lot of it is intimidation. People get intimidated by the thought that, oh, I can't do that, or I don't have the talent or skill to get that done. And that's just wrong. We've tried to make it as easy for them to participate as possible. And we try to make their contributions as the most important thing when they come online. So that's one of our biggest challenges as far as the documentation team is concerned, is getting more community involvement. And that's what we hope to get from things like this, from these meetings, from these experiences. Wally, I'll let you pick up from there.
Oh, I think you've covered most of it, and I just have to give a big shout out to the folks that are contributing in the documentation group. We would be nothing without them. Antoine, Jim Katz, Ezekiel, Stephen, how do you say that name?
Franco or
Franco? Yes. I was going by his Mattermost handle. So those folks are they are just rock stars, all of them. They just do the stuff, and they just make the work so easy. And of course Stephen, they just make the work so easy and a lot of fun too. So yes, a few people are doing the work, but they make it so easy for everybody else. So
yeah, it always seems like documentation is something that lacks in most projects in general. I mean, enterprise, corporate world as well. It seems to be the last thing that gets done, and a lot of times it doesn't get done at all. So it's amazing to me that you can keep up at all. I mean, things change so fast. Neil, again, you and I have talked about this, about challenges and things that are out there at scale. So what do you see as some of those big challenges in a project like this?
Well, for kind of me personally with the infrastructure team, it's a lot of what we're blocked by is the need to keep certain pieces of information more private and other pieces of information public. And so, trying to design systems and infrastructure as code in ways that we can engage the community and people can feel as though they are not only feel as though, but feel as though and actually be contributing in a meaningful way to our infrastructure projects. So that's what I've been doing a lot of thinking and working around this year, and working to get to the hopefully execution and RFC kind of stages soon with the community to get to a place where we're more involved in the community. Personally, that technically is one of the most difficult challenges that I face right now.
Thank you, Neil. We do have a question comment from Sylvie. Hello, Rocky team. So hello, guys. Can you bring back the monthly and quarterly updates to the community to keep us up to date on what's going on?
I'd say I think we're working on it. At least I know we've got a few people we're trying to help rope in with some of that, especially with how busy we've been with the 8, 6, and 9 release. We could use more help. So, if you are interested in that and have the ability to, do some write-ups from team reports to kind of give some, just make it a pretty little report for all the technical stuff that we do, that would be a huge help. Interworking with different social media and things of that nature. That's a way that we're looking for help. And I know we've got at least a couple of hints as to some people that we're trying to pull into it, but I'm not sure where that process is for all of them. But yes, that is something we've talked about last couple of team meetings that's come up.
So like if somebody's interested in that type of role or helping do that, who should they reach out to specifically to kind of just make it quick?
So actually, let me jump in on that part because I've been spending a lot of time thinking about process for bringing in people from the community and expanding our teams. We have a bunch of documents that we're actually writing right now. I kind of alluded to them already: charter, bylaws, updating all of this, board structures, and all of this. And the goal is part of this is to give somebody who's just noticing our what we've done and decides they want to be part of this community, give and provide a path that is clearly defined and outlined for anybody in the community to say, okay, I want to get involved. I want to talk to them. Join Mattermost. Start chatting with people. Start choosing some teams that you may want to contribute to. Create the mechanisms for how somebody contributes. Create the mechanisms for how people can sponsor other people, such that we can now have a committers. So you can go from a contributor to a committer. From a committer, you can kind of continue on this process all the way to the point where you literally could end up as a chair on a board. So that whole process is very, very important for me to make sure that anybody in the world can come and be part of what it is that we're creating and add value to this.
So Greg, since I love to ask this question of well, it's kind of my job. What's the timeline on that? Like, when can people expect to see that, and where can they expect to see that?
End of month is the goal to get it out there. Give us a little bit of a buffer of a couple weeks, so we should probably see it, I'd say, the latest in 30 days.
And then where would they be looking for that when it comes out, or is it going to go out in a mailing list?
That will go out. There'll be an announcement on it on the announcement mailing list. There'll be announcements in Mattermost about it, and it will also be mirrored and replicated on our main page, as well as an FAQ in case, because creating legal documents. I'm not sure if anyone has done this or gone through the process. They get long and they get complicated and hard and not fun to read unless you are a lawyer. So we're actually going to also planning on having an FAQ that will kind of summarize some of the key points in this, so you can very easily do a TLDR on these multi pages of legalese. Yeah.
Skip, you don't like just sitting around reading legal documents? It's not a hobby of yours?
But maybe.
Maybe.
How classified are they?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I think FAQ, and I might even I've talked to some community members. We might even delve through it and spin up a funny, funny translation of the.
Yeah, translate this for me.
Love making
Fantastic.
a mockery of legal documents.
Awesome. So one of the last things I want to ask you guys, this is kind of for everyone. I'll go around and start with you, Stack, on this one. Is what do you see is next? What's on the horizon for Rocky Linux?
Well, since I'm on the testing team, we're kind of focusing on how we can better deal with that, how to better engage the community, because we do have quite a few people who are interested. And, when we have, a new release, even hey, it worked for me, is sufficient to give some feedback of, things are moving forward. But to have a framework where people can say, oh, well, this actually didn't work for me. We actually are looking for people to help out with, especially weird hardware. We don't have a whole lot of people who have a bunch of different RAID cards, for example. So when we're trying to test to make sure that everything's working, having somebody who's got that experience is a huge benefit. But we also have things like Xos Reports, which are fairly easy for people to run this command against their system and give us some feedback as to how well it's working. And just the fact that we have some sort of metric. And so, but when we have 9.1 or 8.7 or 10.0, how do we help organize and collect all this information? So we're putting a lot of thought process on going through the release. How do we have, make sure we have our no-go set up properly? How do we track information, especially when there is a break? Does it something that we did, or is it actually a bug that is upstream? And trying to figure out all that. We made it through the 8.6 and 9.0, but there were a lot of lessons learned and things that we were trying to think of how to do better. So, when I think about what's next on the horizon, it's how do we do a better job of testing and integrating with the community to get feedback, especially when things aren't working the way that they expect.
That's great. Thank you. Neil, next.
Well, the thing I'm super excited about right now is having Peridot in the open, in a way that folks can come and interact, and we're actively working on documentation. Skip is doing great work on documenting. That's a word.
Documenting, I love it.
Documenting the architecture around Peridot, how it does what it does, and what it is that it is, as well as how to set it up on your machine and get it running and build a package with it. So the possibilities for us to enable the community to build packages and special interest groups and get them released onto the operating system is really something that is going to enable the community to interact in the ways kind of that Greg was describing, to be able to work on your package and commit it and have it go through a GitOps type workflow and be approved and sent to the mirrors where folks can use it. And we're using that today in some of our projects with we have a cloud special interest group that focuses on maintaining and enhancing different parts of the operating system for cloud usage on any cloud, Azure, GCP, Amazon, etc. So there's a custom kernel that has some tweaks so it can run better on ARM with a different page size. It backports some drivers from the mainline kernel for Google's GVNIC driver, so it can interact directly with the hardware there and get great performance on GCP. And there's some other tweaks that we're looking to investigate for other operating systems, other cloud operating system vendors, where we can enable tweaks and tuning to help them perform their best on those clouds. And that's a really cool initiative that we've been able to take into the community and work on there with Peridot enabling that. Outside of that, I'm working to get Stack and in the testing team some infrastructure so they can do some automated builds as well and do regression testing against the operating system so that we can have some much better understanding from a automatic sense of if the updates that we're pushing out are well constructed and work well to go out on the public internet instead of the manual testing that we're doing right now. So a lot of things to automate and help facilitate the release of the updates and features that we release.
It's exciting. Thank you, Neil. Steven, what's next for you?
I think trying to engage the community as much as possible, try to get some more involvement in the documentation project. Also trying to support everything that infrastructure and dev and testing are doing. And I think what we have done in the past, for instance, documentation, is try to be the go-to person or the go-to people for release notes, try to be there to write those up and try to get them formatted in such a way that we can get them posted. We just want to do more of that, but our biggest and our grandest goal is to get that community involvement that we need in the project.
Thank you, Steven. Skip, you've got a few things going on.
I do have a few things going
What's next
on.
for you?
The Rocky Linux project, in my mind, this is speaking from a dev technical perspective. Two of the things that I feel are important and that I'm focusing on are first, sustainability, technical sustainability. And what I mean by that ties into what Neil was talking about with not documentation, but not the kind of documentation. It ties in with Wally and Steven and what they do, but documentation around how it's built, right? Like all of, we build our packages here, we build our ISOs here. This is how it's done. This is how it's, that this is how cloud images are produced, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like the more people that know about this and that know all the things that happen behind the scenes, the better. And that's what I mean about sustainability. So I work, as Neil said, working on Peridot build system documentation right now. But I want to get as many people introduced to this whole world as possible, because yes, it's difficult, but a lot of the basics are pretty easy to grasp. Like this connects to this, and this is how the RPM code goes through here, and it spits out RPMs over here. You can grab them, like that kind of thing. And the other thing that I'm looking at right now, and I'm going to steal a bit of Sharif's thunder here, is so right now Rocky 9 supports the same architecture, CPU architectures that Red Hat and the other enterprise Linux distros support, which is Intel's x86, Arch, ARM64 processors, S390X, which is mainframe, and PowerPC. And we are looking into the possibility, again, Sharif, I know, is already hard at work on this, but ARM 32-bit, which is a separate thing from the ARM 64 processors, and RISC-V, which is the new, it's a pretty new, pretty hot open processor architecture. And we are, right now, I'm not going to say anything more right now, but we are investigating the possibility of producing Rocky ports for these infrastructure or these architectures. I think it could be really cool. So
it's very cool.
I'll just second that Skip's blog is excellent for his deep dives. So if you have
more
interest in
articles
the deep
coming
dives,
soon. Yeah.
And then if you have some of those weird processor types, join in on the SIG for the alt arch, because the more people we have helping out and testing, the better.
It's great. Thanks, Tech. Wally, what's next for you?
I'm also under a gag order. There's some exciting stuff coming for the documentation group. We're in very early talks about the things, but it's going to be big. It's going to benefit the community a whole lot. It's very exciting stuff. I'm excited about it. But that's all I have to say about that. So stay tuned for that.
Thanks for teasing. Now we have to make sure they come back. Sharif, what's next for you? Other than Skip stole part of your thunder.
There's no still the other architectures, and hopefully the new secure boot soon. Hope so. And I need to refine a little bit the generic ARM64 image that I'm working on. It's not officially part of Rocky yet, because it needs a little bit of more testing. But hopefully, if this works as I expected or have in mind, it should mainly work on most embedded hardware. So you won't need to have a specific image for Raspberry Pi, or it's a little bit different technically, but you won't need to have specific image for different board that use ARM64, as long as they are supported in mainline kernel. It's so far I only have very limited hardware, so I have few Raspberry Pi 400 and Rocky Pro 64. It works, but I would love if people from the community just tell me, "Oh, I have this board. Can you try to test it with me?" Yes, please. So yeah, that's what in the pipeline now, along some other stuff that I related to secure boot, but it's not. There is no need to disclose it. Just new secure boot, hopefully. So yeah.
Very nice. Thank you very much. So if you have some special hardware, some embedded devices you want to play around with Rocky, please reach out. Let us know.
What Sharif is describing here is how development happens too. It's people and ideas. They come together and they say, "Hey, you got this new image? Check it out. Like, do this hardware. Oh, this doesn't work. Let's fix it." And we have this happens all the time in our collaboration platforms, and I'm really, really happy about it.
It's very cool. Greg, what's next for you, or what do you see next?
So what I'm excited about is, a lot of it was what was mentioned. Everything from Peridot, getting Peridot out there, getting more people using Peridot, getting contributions back from the community on Peridot. I'm looking forward to the installation and the setup of Peridot to be so easy that we can just basically go throw some Helm charts into Kubernetes, and boom, now you've got a whole Rocky system ready to go. So I'm looking forward to that. That to me is super cool. I'm looking forward to the special interest groups, really furthering and expanding what people can do with Rocky and simplifying that. We've got a number of special interest groups. Neil kind of alluded to some of them and mentioned some of them directly. But there's a lot of interest around special interest groups. And that definitely, whether people are running Rocky or something else, that definitely goes right back into the community. All of those different things that we're doing goes back into the community. You can use it on anything. What Skip was talking about regarding architectures, advanced architectures and other architectures, super exciting. I'm really looking forward to RISC-V, of course. And then again, being able to take those and again, upstream a lot of those contributions back in. So a lot of these sorts of areas, super excited about across the board. But I'm really excited about, and this is going to, no, I don't think anyone else here is really super excited about this, but I am so excited about these legal documents. I got to tell you, because what it is it's solidifying and fixing for the whole future of the project, solidifying everything of what is important to this project, and putting that in writing, right, and making that more formal. Right, we all know what's important to the project, and we all know why we're all interested in this project. But now, actually formalizing that and publishing that, holding us accountable to what we say we're going to do, not just now, but a decade, 2 decades out, making sure that the project is being held accountable to these same sorts of values, and then creating a structure that we can make decisions and we can evolve over time to better optimize ourselves. All of this stuff, again, it sounds, I guess maybe a lot of people would say that yeah, okay, just infrastructure that we need, but to me, actually, after seeing this and being part of so many open source projects, and this actually is really exciting to me. Plus, as I mentioned, I'm not really a useful developer anymore, and whatnot. So this is how I can actually add value to the group. So yay!
Open source legal? Is that what I'm hearing?
Maybe.
How does that?
Yeah, I knew there was something wrong with the guy.
Oh, well, I really appreciate you guys coming on. I know we're up against time. I know that not everybody is represented. I just want to say thank you to everyone out there in the Rocky community that's contributing back and helping. Loving watching this thing grow, and we want to invite you to be a part of that with us and go on this journey. So again, guys, can't thank you enough for what you're doing. Keep it up. We're really excited to see what comes next. See you guys next week.